If you're a business owner feeling stuck, overwhelmed, and ready to grow, you're in the right place. Welcome to Small Business Pivots, where founders share insights, stories, and pivots that lead to sustainable growth. I'm your host, Michael D. Morrison, a business coach helping business owners get unstuck and grow. All right, welcome to another Small Business Pivots, where we bring special guests from around the world. And today we have a great one on a topic that we don't often talk about enough. But if you've listened to the show, you know that no one can introduce themselves or their business like the business owner. So my friend, I let you do your introduction and give us a little short story about you so our audience can be relatable.
Of course. My name is Ryan Englin. I'm the CEO and founder of Core Matters, best-selling author of a book called Hire Better People Faster, and a podcast host of a top 10% podcast called Titans of the Trades, where we bring hope and inspiration to contractors all around the world. At Core Matters, this is where we primarily do all our work. It's our think tank. It's where we do our R&D. It's where we learn all of this stuff, sometimes the hard way. Our focus is what we call the Core Fit Blueprint. We are systems engineers, and what we do is we come into your small business and we build all of the people processes that you wish you would have had before you hired your first person. Everything from, how we onboard them to how we manage them, how we communicate with them, how we follow up, how we engage them, how we even do performance reviews. Yes, you heard it right. If you're not doing performance reviews, you should be doing it. And we've got a software platform that's coming out soon to specifically support that. I got in the business because my dad was an owner operator. We all know owner operators who have this vision of, I'm going to go start this business. It's going to be great. It's going to give me freedom. I'm going to have more money. And then they wake up a decade later and go, got no freedom, don't have enough money. What's going on?
How do I get rid of this thing?
As I was a kid, I watched my dad, and I just thought this was entrepreneurship. And I was like, I'm not doing that. And so I didn't go into the family business, got a college degree, and then went to corporate and said, I ain't doing this either. I'm going to go be an entrepreneur. But I had this belief that my dad's problem was that he didn't have enough business. I remember people telling me cash solves a lot of problems, like more revenue solves a lot of problems. And as I got older and I spent my time in corporate, I realized his problem wasn't more customers. His problem was no one ever taught him how to run people processes. And so as we shifted the business, I started focusing on the people process side, wrote the book, came out a couple of years ago, and just really passionate about helping small business owners, like under 200 employees, really focus on how do we help people feel like they belong? How do we get managers to feel empowered and equipped to have tough conversations, hold their people accountable? And most importantly, how do we get the leader out of their own way? You probably deal with this a lot in coaching. How do we get the owner out of the way and really start thinking about how do I get my people to do what I ask them to do? How do I get them to care about the business as much as I care about the business? How do I get them to want to be here? Because when they're not only letting the team down, but they're letting our customers down. How do we get the owner to start exemplifying that? It's a big part of what we do as well. So that's a little bit about me. Ask away. I'm an open book. I love this.
I assure you that you got everybody's ears peaked on every topic that you just hit on, because they're probably going, wait, what? You can get them engaged and care about the business just like I do? Well, I know there's a lot to talk about, but one thing you mentioned in the beginning here was processes or systems before your first hire. And one of the first questions that I get from new entrepreneurs is, when do I know that I'm ready for my first employee? So let's just start from the very beginning, because if they can start there, they'll be so much further ahead than other entrepreneurs who now have 10, 20, 30, and they're like herding cats all day. So let's just start from the beginning. I'll let you go ahead with that.
That's the thing. When you're really small, say under 5 employees, one bad hire, it can be catastrophic to the business if you don't get it right. But that first hire is really tricky. And here's why. Most entrepreneurs, I was in this bucket, so I lived it, think there's got to be someone out there like me who can help me do all the stuff in the business that I don't like to do. And the truth is, there is. they're your competition because they're an entrepreneur and they're not going to come work for you. So I think being ready to hire that first person is a little bit more mindset than it is process. Because typically when you are by yourself, you know everything. It's all in your head. You know how to do it. You know how to deliver. You probably haven't written anything down yet. So I would say that when you are feeling that burden, or when your spouse is telling you, honey, you're working way too many hours, you need to hire somebody. When you feel that, the first thing you want to do is take a step back and say, what can I teach quickly? What kind of person can I lead? And what specifically do I need them to do? See, here's what happens. Our first hire, we're out with a drink with a friend who just lost their job. We're like, come work for me. It'll work.
Yep.
Or we call that cousin who's unemployed. We're like, come over here and help me out. And it never works out. Well, I can't say never, rarely works out. And the reason is we didn't give them direction. You see, most people need to know what you expect of them. Now, you as the entrepreneur, you don't think this way. You think, hey, if there's a problem, I fix it. I can do whatever I need to do. I'll learn whatever I need to learn. That's not normal. That's why entrepreneurs struggle so much. We think differently than employees do. We have to give them clear direction, clear path, specifically you have to know how we're keeping score. We have to do all of that. So unless you can sit down and say, here are the specific things I need help with, you are not ready to hire somebody yet.
I love that. And I know I would think most entrepreneurs have heard the analogy of like, if you're going on a trip, wouldn't you like to know where you're going, how you're going to get there, how many days you're going to be there? And it's really no different in business. Is that correct? Is that fair?
Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting. We talk about vision, which is where we use that example. Like, where's this business going? What do we want to accomplish? Because you know what? You're inviting someone to come onto your metaphorical bus. Like anybody that's read Good to Great knows that your business is a bus and we can put the right people in the right seats. Well, if they're not excited about where the business is going, they're going to get off when it breaks down, when there's a setback, when there's a traffic jam, when the market changes. They are going to get off the bus because they're not excited about where it's going. So we've got to be really clear on where it's going before we bring someone on. But more importantly than that, I think we have to be really clear on what that person's going to do while they're on the bus. And often we make that first hire, or heck, our first dozen hires, and we're not quite sure exactly what they're going to do. We just bring them on because we know we need help. And that's where I think we get into this rat race of constantly just backfilling positions because nobody knows what help means.
Yeah. What would be some advice on finding the right people? So let's say that they've got the role defined. They know what this person is going to be doing. How do they get people to fit their culture?
Yeah. Well, I love that you said culture because there's two parts to making a hire. Number one is, do they fit your culture? How you behave, how you think, how you speak. And can they do the job? Because we've all hired somebody. We're like, oh my gosh, we just clicked. We just get along. Like we finish each other's sentences. This is going to be so much fun. Culture fit. And they ain't got a lick of skills to help you do the job, right? But we've also hired that 20-year veteran who rubbed me the wrong way, didn't quite feel right, but boy, can they do the work. And it's finding the person that does both that's the key. And when you're first getting started out, it's actually harder because you might have the culture figured out, the person that fits, but you don't have the capacity to train them. You don't have the materials, the training materials in place to train them. You don't have the other staff to help train them. You got to do it all on your own. But I would say that first off, and then I'll answer your question, is focus on culture fit. It's way more important than can they do the job. Way more important because you can teach them to do the job. They can learn to do the job. It's really hard for people to change their behaviors and become someone they're not.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. But then I want to shift the way we think about this. I don't want you to go looking for somebody. I don't want you to find somebody. What I want you to do is take a step back and go, how do I attract the right person? We talk about in marketing all the time, we have to understand who our target market is. We have to understand our ideal customer, if we've defined them or not. We need to do the same thing when we're thinking about attracting this, because here's the reality. You and a million other employers are looking for people right now. And the only thing, when you are just looking for people, the only thing that you have to compete against is pay and benefits. They don't know you. They don't like you. They don't trust you. If you're a small business, they probably never even heard of you. Heck, maybe you don't even have much of a website or a social media presence. So how are they going to know if you're somebody that they want to get on the bus with? They're not. So if you don't want to compete with pay and benefits, which is always a question I get, like, how do I compete with these big boys? Start attracting and stop looking for people. When you become attractive to the right person, you put your culture out there. You put your career plan out there. You put your vision out there. You put the things out there that the big guys can't compete with because they don't have that. There's a stepped career ladder when you go work for corporate, and that's it. You come help me on the ground floor. Look at where we're going. We're doing $500,000 right now. We're going to be doing $5 million in 5 years, and I want you to be employee number 2 on that. Like, that's a different thing that you get to sell than here's a $60,000 a year job. So stop looking for people and start thinking, how do I become attractive to the people that I want to attract?
What are some examples of where you would put this stuff you're referring to attract people?
Well, a couple of things. So right now, everybody's thinking, oh, I go to the job boards. I go to Indeed to get people, right? That's everybody thinks. And I actually am not a big fan of Indeed for a whole bunch of reasons. Indeed's not a big fan of me because I don't talk kindly about them. They're just there to take your money. Indeed's tagline is helping people find jobs, not helping employers find good people. So keep that in mind. What's their tagline?
Good
They're not
point.
on your side. So
they specify it right up front.
Yeah, they're very clear. We are not on your side, employer. You just pay our bills. Here's the thing. Website's a great place. And when we talk about website and we talk about website design, I want you to really think, could you build a website that is very attractive to the right kind of employee? Could you talk more about your culture, more about your leadership style, more about your communication, more about your vision? Could you put employee testimonials? If you've already got one, put some employee testimonials. Heck, if you don't have employee testimonials because you're a company of one, record one yourself. Let me talk about what it's like to work with me. Put that video out there. Do not be afraid of video. It can just transform your ability to attract the right people. So your website's one. Social media. Don't make your social media all about driving customer acquisition, which is what most of us do. Talk about where you're going with the company. Guess what? Your customers want to know that you have a vision for your business because they want you in business next year. But so often we're so afraid to talk about where we're going and what our plans are and that we need to hire because we don't want our customers to think we might not be able to serve them. Trust me, your customers want you to grow because they want you to be there the next time they need you. Stop being so afraid of that. Social media is a great one. Review websites. If you have a bunch of poor customer reviews or you're just average on customer reviews, I encourage you, get in there, start responding to them, start focusing on greater customer reviews because you know what employees do? They pull up your Yelp page and they go, oof, if customers don't like them, maybe I won't like them either.
Yeah.
I don't want to be on the other side of this. So those are all opportunities just online to put this information out there so you can start attracting the right people.
Well, we've talked about when to hire the first, what to look for, how to attract. Let's say we get them on board. They get a peek under the hood, if you will. They want to work with us. What's some good guidance on how to get that ball moving in the positive direction? Because first impressions are everything. And if I come to your company and you look unprepared and a little chaotic, guess what experience I'm probably going to have? So how do we get that ball rolling in the right direction right up front?
Yeah. One thing to think about too, when you're doing this. So we all have that. I'm unprepared. I don't have all the answers. I don't know. And nothing worse than that crazy owner who's like, I got to cancel and reschedule because I got to go on a job call today. Like, here's the thing. Don't fake it. I would rather you be real and say, hey, I don't have my act together. I'm not perfect. That's why I'm hiring you because I need more perfect on my team, right? Yeah. I would rather that be the message than let me put up this facade. And now, because you're going to get exposed eventually. Yeah. And then you're going to be mad. You're going to blame the employee. Well, it's not their fault. You faked it. So let's be real. If you're a little messed up, it's okay to admit you're a little messed up. But that's why you're hiring, right? I'll never forget. It was one of my first hires after I started my business. And I was getting yelled at because all of my tasks were behind. And so for me, I'm sitting here telling her, I'm like, your tasks are behind. You need to get caught up. You need to get caught up. We got to deliver this for the clients. And she's like, well, your tasks are behind. I go, my tasks are behind because it's my business and I take on more than I want. And I hired you so that you could get your tasks up to date, so that you can get my tasks up to date. Like, the whole reason you exist is not to be modeled after me. The whole reason you exist is to fix all the issues that I have. And that really opened my eyes to the fact that it's okay to tell people, hey, we're not perfect. So when you onboard people, one thing I want you to think about is that onboarding starts at application. Onboarding doesn't start after they've accepted your offer. Onboarding doesn't start on their day one. Onboarding starts at application. And if you don't believe me, ask anybody that's married if they can tell you about their first date. I haven't met too many people that can't. It's something that sets the stage for the rest of the relationship. So does how you respond when they apply.
Yeah.
So onboarding is really about expectations. If an employee doesn't work out, or you have to fire them, or they quit, it's usually because expectations were misaligned. Somebody's expectations, whether spoken or unspoken, weren't met. Oh, I thought it'd be a calmer place to work around here. I can't deal with the chaos. I'm leaving. Well, we faked it and we made them feel like we weren't chaotic, right? Or maybe the employee said they had the skills. We didn't test them because we trusted them because we were desperate and we had to hire quick, right, Michael? So they didn't have the skills and we didn't find out till 6 weeks in, and we had customers complaints like crazy. Well, our expectations was they said they could do the job. We thought they'd do the job, but they couldn't do the job. So when your expectations aren't met, that's when we have problems. So to get that first little bit going with onboarding, we like to have what we call an alignment meeting. We're going to sit down and we're going to map out expectations on both sides. Here's what I expect. Let's talk about what you expect. Let's get everything out in the open so that when we do start working together, neither one of us are surprised.
This is all good. I love this. I know as a business coach working with so many business owners, these are all common challenges that we have. I see some business owners that they just put cheeks in the seats, right? They're busy, like you said. They just need help. Yeah. And then they get frustrated when the help comes, and then they call coaches and people like you and say, where's all the A players?
Yeah.
So leading to that, are there really A players, or do the companies turn them into A players? I'd like your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Way to stack that question.
Like the lead in?
The answer is both. There are A players out there. They're working for somebody else who's probably coaching them to be A players. But here's the thing that most small businesses struggle with is, if I were to ask 10 entrepreneurs to define an A player, I'd probably get 30 different answers because there's so many it depends, right? So I think the important part is, if you want to find an A player, you need to define an A player. Like, tell me what an A player means to you, and I'll help you find that A player or help you attract that A player. But if you don't know what an A player means to you, of course you're never going to find an A player. Right. They're walking down the street, walking by you all the time. You're like, that doesn't look like one. That doesn't look like one. Well, no wonder, because you've never sat down to figure out, what does an A player mean? And everybody's got a different definition. So they are out there. They are definitely looking for work, right? But they want to be attracted. They want to be wooed. They don't just want to go to Indeed and deal with the madness of looking for work. They want someone to come and say, hey, I want you. That's what they want. And if you got a team of people right now and you look around and you go, I got no A players. I've got none. I'm going to tell you, my experience has said you probably do. But you got a D player on your team that you won't let go of, that's pulling everybody down.
Amen.
Go look around, and I promise you there is someone on your team that you are tolerating because you believe you need the extra set of hands. You believe you need the help, or Maybe they're the brother of your wife. I don't know, right? You hired family and you messed that one up, right?
Yep.
So regardless, there's somebody on your team that you need to let go of, but you won't. There's somebody on your team you need to hold accountable, but you won't. And what's happening is their low performance, not only is it a morale suck and draining everybody else, but it's also they're creating problems that your team then has to go fix, which means they don't get to step up and perform. And so if you've got a team already and you're struggling with, I don't have any A players, you get rid of that D player and you watch your A players come to life. But right now, when you keep tolerating it, guess what they believe? Oh, he doesn't care about me. He's not really doing anything. Gosh, is he even really a good leader? He can't even hold that person accountable. He tolerates that stuff. Maybe I don't need to work so hard and I get to keep my job too. Like, you send the wrong message when you tolerate that low performance. We think we're doing it what's best for the company, what's best for the team, but I promise you, it's hurting you more than it's helping.
You mentioned family and friends. I think you probably knew this question was coming. What are your thoughts on that? Two questions. One is, if you already have them on staff, how to better get along.
Yep.
Because that's where most small businesses are, right? My aunt or my mom or my sister, somebody knew some bookkeeping. So now all of a sudden they're my accountant, but they're a problem accountant. So we got people that already have them on staff, and then we have people that might consider bringing them on. So those are kind of two different areas.
So if you have a choice, and you get to the point where you've got another leader on your team, you've got another manager on your team, and that person does not have to report to you, you're much better off. Not everybody has that choice. Sometimes we just need to fill a seat. Here's what I'll tell you. Hiring friends and family, that alignment offer, that alignment meeting I was telling you about, before you sit down, you actually ink the offer letter, which, by the way, if you're not doing offer letters, start doing offer letters. And by the way, that's not just a legal thing. It's a clarity thing. You both know what's expected of that person now. Like, they know what's expected. You know what's expected of them. It's clarity. The lack of clarity is what really causes problems with friends and family members. See, we're afraid to tell them they're doing a bad job because we were never clear to them on what a good job is. They knew accounting. It's like, come be my bookkeeper. And they're like, okay, I'm going to take over the books. Oh, you don't even have QuickBooks yet. I'll get it set up for you. You had no idea what they were going to do for you. Therefore, the lack of clarity is what caused it to be a problem, because they started doing things their way, not your way, because you weren't clear with them up front. So if you already have people, you can do a realignment meeting, which is you sit down and say, hey, we're going to get clear on a bunch of things. First off, my company, not yours. Second off, here's how the org chart looks. I'm at the top. You're below me. You report to me. Thirdly, here's your new job description. I got very clear on exactly what I expect you to do, when I expect you to do it, how I am going to keep score, how I expect you to behave when you're doing this job. Let's talk about your new job description. Or for some of you, it might not even be a new one. It might be just, it's new because it's the only one. Right? And you give it to them and you sit down and you say, let's have a conversation. This is what I expect. Can you meet these expectations? Yes or no? If the answer is no, well, you know what to do then.
You're listening to Small Business Pivots with Michael D. Morrison. If you're ready to get your business unstuck and grow, let's chat. Schedule your free session at michaeldmorrison.com. Now back to the show. What is the best route to dismiss someone properly without bringing down the morale of the team? And I ask that because sometimes when we have bad employees, it sends a stronger message of fear when we let that person go. I know they're elated, they're excited, they're like, finally, it's about time. But then, am I next? Like, they got rid of the star that was the problem, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So here's my test for that. So when you've decided you need to let someone go, the question you need to ask yourself is, will this person be surprised when I fire them? Because if the answer to that question is yes, you still have work to do before you fire them. Because that means you haven't been communicating the things you need to be communicating as their leader. So if they are surprised at their lack of performance or them bringing down morale or their insubordination, if they're surprised by that, that means you haven't been telling them that or holding them accountable to it since the beginning. So, and by the way, that is usually what happens. See, what happens is we hire somebody, we're all excited, and then 6 weeks go by and we're like, ooh, not as good as I thought they'd be. And we're like, oh, we need the help. We need the help. And then 6 months go by and we're like, I just can't believe I hired this person, but I need the help. I need the help. And then a year goes by and you're like, that's it. I've had enough. I am done getting rid of them. And never once have you talked to them in a year. They thought they were doing what you wanted them to do. They had no idea. I truly believe that most people have no idea that they're a bad employee when they're a bad employee, unless you tell them they're a bad employee. So our approach to that is a performance improvement plan. For anybody that's had any time over in corporate, PIPs are a big thing in corporate. You got to put them on a PIP. You got to prove to HR that they are not going to turn it around before you can terminate them. But here's the thing about a PIP. It's not a corporate or an enterprise or a compliance tool. A PIP is a clarity tool. Here's the deal. Things aren't going well. Here's what I need from you. If I can't get this from you, I'm going to have to let you go in 30 days. I'm willing to give you 30 days to show me I can get this. What do you think? Is it possible that I can get this? 9 times out of 10, you know what they say? Nope. Great. Here's your last 2 weeks' pay. See ya. It's easy then. Because we said, here's the expectations I have. Here's what I need from you. Can our expectations align? And if the answer is no, well, the next step is easy. Now, if the answer is yes, great, we're going to put you on this PIP. You have 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, depends on the role, right, to make this stuff happen. And if it doesn't happen at the end of this time, I'll need you to find another job. And at any time in the next 60 days or whatever, if it gets bad or you start calling in or you violate policy or any of those things, you're gone. Right? It's kind of like you're on probation at that point, right? You're on the watch list.
Yep. And as a business coach, watching and witnessing business owners, once they find clarity, and this is just some insight for our listeners, I have often found that the person will leave before you have to terminate them once they're crystal clear, because they're like, I'm not doing that. See ya.
Almost always.
Yep.
Almost always. And that's the thing. Now it's not me being the bad guy. Now it's not me that just fired them. I gave them a choice and they chose the thing that doesn't keep them employed here.
Yeah.
Now, I did say the probation thing. So if they completely disengage, maybe you don't keep them the whole time, because you know what they're going to do, right? They're using that 60 days to get paid while they look for another job.
Right.
Which I've seen people do that before. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Hey, you know what? I'm happy to keep you on for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, if you want to leave. I don't want to hurt you and your family. You've been an okay employee up till now, like whatever your opinion is. And then, by the way, at the end of 3 weeks, your employment's done. So hopefully you find something fast. It's your business. You can do whatever you want, right?
Yeah, that's what they say. What are some systems, or I wouldn't say perks, but what are some things to keep people engaged? So in other words, we've attracted the right ones, we've onboarded them properly. How do we retain them? What drives their motors?
So we do most of our work in the blue collar space. We're branching out of that. We're getting into ops heavy businesses now. Anybody that has lots of frontline employees. And you've probably heard in the construction industry, at least, there's a labor shortage. We don't have a labor shortage in the construction industry. That's something that people tell themselves so they don't have to be the victim. It's just I'm the victim. I'm not the problem. We have a retention problem in the trades. And anybody that is listening right now that is a contractor or owns a company in the trades, ask yourself how many W-2s you issued last year versus how many employees you had. You have a retention problem, I promise you. And we think that it's this labor shortage. We think that the problem is not us. We think it's the market. But if you have a retention problem, if your turnover is more than, say, 30%, which means that you 30% means a third of the people you hire, or the third of the growth that you have in your company isn't around at the end of the year, then you're doing okay. But a lot of small businesses have 4, 5, 6, 700%, which means you got to hire 7 people to keep one. It's crazy. We have a disengagement problem. People are disengaged at levels, just worldwide. In fact, Gallup just came out with the State of the Workforce report. 20% is the worldwide average for engaged employees, 31% in the United States, which means 7 out of the 10 people that work for you are not engaged. 7 out of 10. Which is good news for you, because if you want to attract people, that means 7 out of 10 of the people you need are looking for work. But it's bad news for you, because that means 7 out of 10 people you currently employed are open to another job. And that's what we look at. When someone is disengaged, they are open to working for someone else. They might not be looking, but when their cousin calls them and says, oh, you got to hear about this company I just got a job at, it's amazing, they're like, tell me more. And so to keep people engaged, it's a couple of things. Number one, people want to feel like they belong. If people don't feel like they belong on your team, the things that they give up, the time with their family, the time with their friends, their hobbies, the things they do for fun, they're giving that up to come work for you. And if they don't feel like they belong, if they don't feel like they have friends at work, if they don't enjoy the people they work with, they're not going to be engaged. It's that simple. So we got to make them feel like they belong. How do you do that? Common interests. We do it all the time. Oh, you went to the same school I did? Oh, come on, you can work. Wait, common interests. But beyond that, how do we really make sure that we build friendships at work? Gallup, who does a lot of employment surveys, has identified that people who have a best friend at work are 6 times more likely to be engaged than if they don't have a best friend at work. That doesn't mean the best friend. It just means at work, they have a best friend. They have someone they look forward to seeing on a Monday morning. So it's really important. Make sure that you give opportunities for friendship. The biggest one, especially for the younger generation, because we all got millennial jokes and Gen Z jokes, right?
Yeah.
The biggest one for them is they want to know that training and development exists. Can you train them to be better at what they do? Can you train them or develop them into a leader? Are you willing to invest in their skill set? That's what they want. So if your idea of training and development is, oh, hey, this vendor of ours is putting on a class this weekend, go learn how to use our software better. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the leadership skills, the communication skills, the how do I manage more work skills? How do I become more valuable to you skills? That's the stuff they want. And if you're a small business and they have direct access to you, there's just so much gold in the wisdom and the knowledge that you can instill on them. They love that stuff. So they want to make sure that you've got something that you're intentional about, a process or a plan for showing them opportunities for growth inside of your organization. That's a really important part to them starting to engage more and stick around longer.
I've met some business owners that hire outside consultants, coaches, things like that for their employees. Mm-hmm. But I don't know that the business owner is in those meetings. Is it more important to have everybody, or is it better for that coach consultant to work with the business owner and then the business owner be the example of the leadership? What's kind of your preference on that?
My take is we outsource the things that we don't want to have to deal with. So what message are you sending to your employee when you say, hey, I got you a mentor that doesn't know our business and doesn't work here? Right? What's the message you're sending? You're sending the message of, hey, it's easier for me to write a check to pay somebody to do this than it is to spend 30 minutes a week with you and coach you and train you. So is there a place for outside consultants and coaches? Absolutely. Like, we're both in that space. Absolutely. But I believe we need to be coaching and equipping the leaders within the organization so they can lead more effectively. And if you're by yourself and you don't have anybody else on your leadership team, that is you. So we need to be coaching you so that you can coach them more effectively. That skill set that you're learning as the entrepreneur will take you much further than when you just keep writing checks to outside consultants that don't know your business, don't know your people, don't understand your culture.
What are some of the systems that you talk about as far as, like employee development? Like, what would be an example of, I think they call them employee development programs, EDPs.
Okay.
What would be an example of a good training, for example, if you have like 10 employees, they're all going to have their own little nuances, their challenges, their differences. So how do you bring it together cohesive so that we're all kind of working on the same thing, but Johnny over here, he may be really good at that. So he's disengaged, and we really need to be working on Lucy because she's not, and so you have all these personalities. How's it best to bring them up together?
So the number one issue, and it's so far ahead of every other one. It is the number one issue that I see on small teams. And we work with companies large as 500. So, big teams, small teams, they're small teams, is we don't know how to communicate well, period. Whether it's up, down, sideways, all the way around, it doesn't matter. We do not understand how to communicate well. My communication style is different than yours. My way of giving bad news is different than yours. My way of giving good news is different than yours. Right? My way of coaching is different than yours. All different. And if we don't spend the time to come together and understand our differences, we're never going to be able to communicate effectively. So I believe that one of the most effective ways to build a team, bring a team of 10 together, is to do a behavioral assessment. Take your pick. I don't care whether it's a DISC or a culture index, or we use ProScan a lot, or Colby. I don't care which one it is. Really understand it. Assess everybody and say, here's why we work together really well here, but not so well here. And really coach people and train people on that. Now, that's a case where you could bring in an outside consultant and do it as a group. Amazing use of that investment, right? Have them come in and do that. Sometimes we see entrepreneurs, they get so excited about it, they go figure out how to coach it and do it themselves, and they do it themselves. But I think the biggest gap we have in small business, especially a team of 10, is we just don't know how to communicate well. No one's ever taught us. No news is good news, right?
Yeah.
These are the mindsets. If you think it, don't say it. Like, we tell these people all this stuff, and it hurts us. It hurts us because we don't know how to give bad news. We don't know how to share good news. We don't know how to celebrate the wins. That's all communication. And that's what I think hurts us more than anything.
How much time do you feel a business owner should spend on culture building?
A third of their time. Been asked that question many times. A third of your time. You work 60 hours a week. That means 20 hours a week you are focused on the culture. Whether that's how you communicate, the behaviors, defining it, figuring out the vision, being able to better communicate this stuff effectively. Whether maybe it's hiring, right? Because if you're responsible for culture, guess what? The quality of people you hire directly impacts that. Yep. Maybe it means even you are getting trained on how to have tough conversations and hold your people accountable who don't align to your culture. Third of your time as the entrepreneur should be spent on company culture at a minimum.
I asked that question to follow up with this statement, and that is for those business owners that say, that's a lot of time. Where am I going to find that time? You've heard it, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Here's the thing. You're spending the time now. You're just using it to put out fires. If you were to sit down and be proactive about your company culture and protecting it, being intentional about it, you'd have a lot more time on your hands. But what you're doing right now is you're constantly showing up, putting on the fireman's cap and saying, what fire do I got to put out today? Because I did not be intentional about the company's culture.
Yep. And I always have to kind of bulldoze my way through here with this. As business owners, we have to remember the challenges we have today. Those fires you keep putting out are usually because of us, right? We either created that mess or allowed it to happen, one or the other. We're the captain of the ship, so we have to recognize
lighter fluid in one hand, to fire extinguisher in the other. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. So once we have self-discovery, self-realization of going, these people didn't bring that here. I allowed it, or I created it, or I let this get too far without punishment or whatever. So, well, we've talked about the rest of us. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about your business. How does your business help others?
Yeah. So I've talked a lot about systems and processes, and we just scratched the surface. I've developed what's called the Core Fit Blueprint. It's a 7-phase program that we take every company through that we work with. And everything from stopping the bleeding, which is phase one, because if we don't stop the bleeding and solve the immediate problems, you might not be around for phase two, all the way to phase 7, which is scale with confidence. See, when you've got these tools in place, when you've got these processes in place, when you've equipped your team with the skills that they need to help you grow, scaling becomes so much easier. Because you're not worried about where your next hire is going to come from. You're not worried about someone not calling, someone not showing up for work or calling in. You're not worried about those things. And when you have an amazing team, guess what? The customers line up because they want to be served by an amazing team.
Yeah.
Growing your business becomes so much easier. So we have a 7-phase program. We call it the Core Fit Blueprint. You can learn all about it on our website at corematters.com. We've got a 14-minute video that I've put together, a little masterclass that explains how it works. And when you work with us, like, we are in the trenches with you, getting dirty with you. This is not the type of thing where I'm like, hey, go do this. It's like, oh, let's go do this together. We're going to meet with all of your leaders. You're going to put them on a Zoom call with me, and I'm going to coach them for you. And I'm going to show you how it's done so that you can do it when I'm not there. And so we do a lot of that work with them. And then, of course, I told you we're process engineers. We love building processes. So we've got processes from everything on how do you audit your website to make sure that you're the most attractive you can be, to how do you communicate with someone during an interview? How do you make the right hiring decision? How do you make that objective and not the, oh, I just need help, I'm desperate, they smiled, I smiled, let's hire them. Yeah. To how do you onboard them well? We even get so particular. We have a process called the wait. And the wait is that period of time from when that person's accepted the offer to the day they start. Well, in your world, you walk out of there and you're like, okay, cool, we hired somebody. They'll be here in 2 weeks. But in their world, the things that they have to go through now over the next 2 weeks, if you're not there hand-holding them when it gets hard, they're going to no-show you. They're going to accept that counteroffer from their boss because he doesn't want them to leave. Right? Yep. They're going to get sad when their friends say, no, I don't want you to go work somewhere else. And they're going to be like, okay, I'll stay. There are so many things that happen in that period of time while you're waiting and they're waiting, that if you aren't there to walk alongside them in that, they're going to think that you've abandoned them. There's so many little things that you can do in that period to give them hope and confidence and inspire them to push through all of the challenges. But as employers, guess what? We never think about that. And then all we do is, oh, they were supposed to start today and no, didn't show up. Nobody wants to work anymore. Like, that's the mindset. And here's another thing. Here's another thing I'll tell you. Stop starting people on Monday. I'm just telling this right now. This is my public service announcement. Stop making Monday start days. I don't know a single entrepreneur that wakes up in the morning and go, Monday's chill. Got nothing to do today. What do? We bring people in on Monday. We're like, oh, we didn't set up their accounts. We didn't finish their background check. I got to check and see if that's back. And we're going crazy because we're dealing with Monday. Why do we do that? And then they sit around all Monday and go, what? I thought they wanted me here. It doesn't feel like they want me here. Start them on a Wednesday or Thursday. Stop the whole Monday thing. That's madness. But that's what we do. So our processes, we get really dialed in to building these processes for you. And then instead of you building them, we build them, we implement them, we train your people on them, or you, and then you manage them. So we build the whole thing and now you just manage it. So it's been very effective, especially if you're a small business. Like our smallest company we work with had just the owner. He's like, I got to make that first hire and I want to do it right. All the way to our largest client. They're just about, when I met them, they were about 200 employees. Now they're almost 500. And I'm starting to get a little nervous. They're getting a little big for me. But I've been around them for so long, they still feel like a small company for me. But that's our process. That's our program. People always ask me how long this takes. And, Rome wasn't built in a day. These problems didn't happen overnight. These problems aren't going to get fixed overnight. Now, are we going to fix some problems? You bet. That's why we have phase 1, stop the bleeding. And we get in there and we stop the bleeding. But to permanently fix the problems, it's going to take a while. We usually tell people about 3 years is what you'll need. If you're committed to this, it'll take you about 3 years. And that doesn't mean that we stop working together after 3 years. We've got some clients who've been with us 8 years or longer. Just because their business continues to evolve. And they're like, well, now this is new. We just went into a new market and what we did here doesn't work there. What do we do now? And so we're alongside to help them build that employee experience and make sure that all of their processes are dialed in no matter what.
I know you've piqued the ears of many. What are some social media channels you're on that they can learn more and connect with you?
Well, LinkedIn is the social media channel for us. We post a ton of stuff there. We also have Facebook and Instagram. We just don't post there as much. But LinkedIn, I'm very active there. Connect with me, DM me. If you got any questions, I'm here to support you. I want to make this easier for so many entrepreneurs. I want people to not be like my dad, who always struggled being able to walk away from the business and go on a weekend vacation with his family because he's got a cell phone. Yeah. He's the only one that can solve the problems. I really want to help fix that. So if there's anything I can do to support you, reach out to me. CoreMatters.com. We have a wealth of information on that website, a bunch of free tools. And, for anybody that might be interested in my book, happy to send them a signed copy. Just pay shipping and handling. You can go to CoreMatters.com/free book. And you can read all about our process and how to hire the best people, because I think that's what really transforms the business, is creating an amazing team.
Absolutely. Well, I know from time to time when I'm on podcast, I start thinking towards the end, oh, I wish I would have said this, or I wish we would have talked about that. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you feel like I really need to say this?
Well, now that you bring it up, I meet a lot of people and they go, Ryan, what's the number one thing? Like, if there's one thing that I do as an owner, what's the one thing that will transform the experience I have with my people? And it's this: care about the things that are important to them. Don't make it all about your business, because at the end of the day, your business isn't as important to them as it is to you. Care about the things that are important to them. Care about the fact that they're growing their family and they're struggling to make ends meet because they just had to buy a bigger house. Care about the fact that they're maybe having some marital issues. Care about the fact that maybe their kid's not doing so hot in school, or there's a health diagnosis. These are the things that matter to them. And when you disconnect with people and you don't care about these things, the things that are real life, they ain't going to care about your business. Care about the things that are important to them.
Well said. Powerful advice. Ryan, I appreciate you. You've been a blessing to many, and I wish you continued success.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Small Business Pivots. If you're ready to get unstuck and grow, schedule your free coaching session at michaeldmorrison.com. On social media, you can find and connect with me using the handle Michael D. Morrison OKC. And if today's episode helped you, subscribe and share it with other business owners. Until next week, keep pivoting.